Thanks for listening to another episode of Remake Rewind. This is Mike, as always. I've got my buddy Alex with me. What's up, bud?
Hey, it's me. I'm here.
Just a little disclaimer at the top of the episode. We just moved, and my wonderful wife Katrina, she is currently unpacking the kitchen. So if you guys hear some banging around pots and pans, it's her. And if you have a problem with it, deal with it, because this podcast isn't making us a ton of money. So getting our house ready to be I can't even think right now what word I was going to say. I was going to say like habitatual, hospitable.
Habitatual, yeah, that sounds
hospitable, right. Livable is a priority.
Every time I want to talk about how many people are allowed to be in stores right now, I want to say capacitance, which I guess is an electrical term.
Yep.
And that's not the right word.
Nope.
But like when I'm formulating the sentence in my head, it sounds right.
It does sound like a word that would be right. Capacitance.
Well, capacitance is an electrical term.
Yep.
And
then for people, it's capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very similar words.
You can call a rug an Afghan, but not a person.
Fuck.
It's true. Oriental too.
Yep, you're right. Those are absolutely
those are offensive if you call them people.
That you can call objects, but not people. That's fair.
I don't think the concept of how many people can fit into an area would get offended, though.
No, I don't think so either.
What are we talking about? This is a movie podcast.
Yeah, so we're going to continue our. I like how you flipped it. Normally, I ask you what we're going to be talking about, and you flipped it on me. Flipped the script.
That's right. I'm all about flipping things.
It's like a parody of a regular episode. Yeah, you see what I did. That's a good segue. There. So we are continuing our conversation on parodies, what makes a good parody, what makes a bad parody, and we're going to be talking about Walk the Line and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story.
Hell yeah.
And just to kind of reiterate for people who may not have listened to the last episode, some of the things we kind of talked about what makes a good parody is one of the things I said was having a story that kind of stands on its own, where you know what it's parodying, but it isn't necessarily a carbon copy of the movie that it's parodying. Which in this particular case, I would say this is very, very close to Walk the Line. Like, it mimics the plot almost exactly, but has some flourishes.
I think I rewatched Walk the Line and this movie both this year, not one after another like this, but I think this is my second time watching each of these movies this year.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but I think this is the first time I've watched them like back to back and really thought about them as one as parody. And I realized that this movie is like a straight Walk the Line parody for the first half, and then the second half of it is just sort of a general biopic of the era type of thing. Yeah,
it starts making fun of a lot of other musicians as you get to the second half of the movie.
But the first half of it, like, really, like, Walk the Line is, Johnny Cash's rise to fame and then dealing with his substance abuse issues for the most part and getting clean before he marries June Carter. And this movie sort of does that for the first hour, and then it expands the third act of that movie for the second half of this movie. So it just deals with like the worst part of his drug addiction for another hour, but then it's also parodying all the different music related things of the time.
So it's funny getting into this one. So I remember I worked at the movie theater when both of these movies came out. Just the tail, like, I left right around the time that Walk Hard came out, but Walk the Line was huge. That movie was 2005. It was like less than a year after our theater opened up. And I remember that movie.
And this movie was 2007.
Yeah, 2005 and 2007. Walk the Line was huge. Like, that movie played forever at my theater, and then when the Oscars came around, they brought it back for like another 2 months. So that movie was huge, at least in Morgan Hill, California. Really big movie. Walk Hard.
I remember it being pretty big.
Walk Hard I saw, and I thought it was funny. I laughed when I saw it in theaters. And then when I rented it and watched it with my family, I didn't really find it that funny, less than a year later on DVD. So I haven't watched it since. Like, I bought it on DVD because I thought it was hilarious the first time I watched it. And then the second time I watched it, I didn't think it was that funny. And it sat in my DVD collection for years. And I want to say about 5 years ago, I got rid of it. And then watching it this time around, I'm just going to say it up top. I actually really enjoyed Walk Hard this time around. And I don't know if it was specifically watching it right after Walk the Line, because there's certain things that, like, it doesn't just parody the story. Like, it really parodies the movie, and it also benefits from the hindsight of what we know about how Walk the Line got made. And there's a specific thing that reoccurs in Walk Hard that I'll bring up once we get through Walk the Line that I just thought was masterful. And but I think we should get into Walk the Line first. And why don't you give me the elevator pitch for it?
Yeah, I think I kind of did that a minute ago, right?
You did. Yeah, let's skip that. Yeah, you totally summarized
it.
Oh,
wait, we always forget to do the actual elevator pitch, though.
Yeah.
We always do like a synopsis. So maybe this time I should try to do the actual elevator pitch.
Got it. Do it.
I haven't thought about this at all, so it's going to be...
Okay, so to be fair, we're going to do it like this. Like, you didn't know you were going to be in an elevator with the executive, and he was just like,
"What's
hey, no Jimmy Lex, whatever your screen name is on this chat right now."
No Jimmy Lex. I don't wear Jimmys.
Yeah, so he's just like, he
Nobody
looks over
did
at you and like, hey,
in the 60s.
I've seen you before. You have any movie ideas? And you're like, oh, yeah, sir.
Oh, well,
got a movie idea.
Well, do you want me to answer, or are you going to do it for me?
No. I was just teeing up the scene for you. I want you to get in character.
Okay, all right. What's my motivation? What's your... I do have one real question. What is your executive's name? Because it can't be your name. Like, you have to have a character. And don't say Mr. Business.
William Hung.
That's a real guy, and he's not a film executive. You've got to be creative.
Bobby.
Think of a good name.
Newport.
That's also a character. You have to come up with an original name. Like, here, I'll help you out. You're like a business guy, so Max would be a good first
Jim
name.
Brodsky.
Sort of motherfucker. Brodsky's okay. I think Max Brodsky.
Max Brodsky.
It'd be better if the last name was sort of like a double entendre or something, but Max Brodsky's pretty good.
Max
Maxwell,
Headroom.
'cause you're a fat cat. Again, existing character. But I do like Max Headroom, so that's good.
Max Scrotal.
Now, you would think that with all this time vamping, I would have had the capacity, the time to think of a good pitch for this. I still don't have one. Hey, Mr. Executive, what floor are you going
Brian
to?
McLean, floor 4.
That's not a floor, I don't think, sir. You're going to the 4th floor? You're not on like the 80th floor?
Oh, I'm going to HR for sexual harassment seminar.
Wow, you're very candid about that. I didn't think that you talk this way outside of closed doors. Oh, you're leading it?
Yeah.
Like based on personal experience, or?
I don't want to talk about it. Do you have like a movie to pitch to me or something?
Yeah, sure. Let me hit this button first. Ding. So, you know that musician that all the kids in 2020 are big fans of? Johnny Cash. You know him, right? Yeah, Johnny Cash. All the kids know him. So I'm thinking we get this guy who's going to be the Joker, and we put him in this movie. And he's going to be Johnny Cash. And we'll get the chick from American Psycho to be June Carter. And then this is just going to be the story of how they fell in love.
Is she in American
Also, there's
Psycho?
a ton of drug addiction. Yeah, she was in American Psycho.
Was she? I don't...
Yeah, she was.
Oh, I don't remember American
See,
Psycho.
I feel like I should be running this company.
You know what? Do as I say, not as I do.
All right, well, I'll see you at the sexual harassment meeting.
All right. Walk the line. Let's get into it. So one of the things... I think this movie kind of... Obviously, there were biopics before this movie, but this one, I think, kind of started the... Obviously, the musical ones.
Wait, we have to have a conversation about this. You say biopic?
Yep. And you say biopic.
You're one of those guys, huh? Yeah, because that's the way you say it.
I like my Twix with it swirled to the left. You like your Twix swirled to the right.
It's a biographical picture.
Biopic. Biography. Bio.
Yeah, but it's a biographical picture. I'm going to go watch a biographical picture.
You know what? Biology. Aw.
That's not the same thing, though.
Anyway,
it's not a
walk the
portmanteau.
line. started this trend of like the music movies. I'd say. And obviously we have Rocket Man, that came out, just a year and a half, 2 years ago. We had the Bohemian Rhapsody, but we've had other movies like this since and in between. And I think this one really kind of set up that trend of having the life story up to a specific point. And this one is really built around his rise of fame, taking care of all the issues that you said with his drug addiction, substance abuse, his infidelities, and stopping at the Folsom Prison performance. You had the Bohemian Rhapsody, obviously had the Live Aid concert. Rocket Man, I can't remember what the end of Rocket Man was. Fantastic movie.
I actually didn't see it.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's really good.
That's what I've heard. For some reason I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's really good. It's like on a bunch of different streaming services for free. You don't even have to pay for it, bud. I would highly recommend it. Taron Egerton is fantastic in it.
I'll get to it.
Good. But the whole premise of this movie is just getting us to the Folsom Prison performance. It bookends the movie. It has him like leaning.
Well, that's not the end. There's another 20 minutes after that.
Yeah, but that's like the part that people cared about. Like Bohemian Rhapsody technically had the same thing where it's like it got to that main event. It's like the thing that the person's most famous for, like their most famous performance, and then it's just like, oh, here's everything that happens afterwards until they die.
Well, I mean, I was expecting what you just said, for it to really end with that performance, because it opens with him backstage at that performance and then sort of flashes back throughout his whole life, which Walk Hard specifically parodies that. I was like, Mr. Cox, you got to go on in 5 minutes. He goes, Dewey Cox has to think about his whole life before he plays a show. But I thought it was interesting that this movie sort of gets up to that point, but then June Carter still hasn't agreed to marry him. So we get to that point, and I was like, oh, there's 20 minutes left in this movie, and I know they get married.
That's right. I forgot what was after the presidency. Yeah, it was a pretty big chapter.
Yeah, it's literally, well, it is and it isn't. It feels like, I guess they want to hew closer to reality than Bohemian Rhapsody felt like it needed to. But like it feels a little strange as a storytelling tool, right? To like bookend a story, but then also have a little bit after. But it's not an epilogue.
No,
it's how he married his wife.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's interesting. He spends the next 20 minutes basically asking her to marry him over and over again.
No, I thought that. No, you're right. That is interesting.
But it works because it's a beautifully shot movie, and Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic, and Reese Witherspoon's there.
Per the use.
Nice.
What's weird about this? So I knew a lot of this going back because I really liked this movie at the time. And what's funny is I told you, I texted you as I was watching this movie that I was disappointed because I had the DVD. But in 2005, I didn't have a widescreen TV yet, so a lot of my DVDs are 4:3 ratio. And I haven't watched this movie in a very long time, so I pop in the DVD, and then it's like I see the bars on the side. I'm like, son of a bitch. Well, I'm not going to pay to rent a movie that I own. And then as I went to Google something, like a behind-the-scenes thing, and then I saw that it was on HBO Max. I'm like, God damn it. I could have watched this in HD. I could have watched this in widescreen, beautiful format, the way it was meant to be seen. And I watched it in a 4:3 like a schmuck.
Sucks to be you, man.
Yeah, dude, first world problems for sure. But this movie...
Now, did you know that Roseanne Cash was critical of this film?
No, I did not know that.
She said it had the 3 most damaging events of her parents' life, which she said were their divorce, Johnny Cash's drug addiction, and something else bad that she can't remember right now. And she said it was painful, and the 3 of them in the film, I guess including herself, were not recognized. 3 of them were not recognizable to me as my parents in any way.
Interesting.
I don't know who her third parent is.
Yeah.
Maybe that's...
So what's June? And...
Oh, I guess it's her, his previous wife's kid, and then June
Vivian
helped raise her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like June Carter and Johnny Cash both died before this movie passed or came out.
Mm-hmm.
But they were alive when the movie was in production, and they actually signed off on, not that they had any like authority to stop it, but they actually did sign off on Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon based off roles that they saw them in other movies. So Johnny Cash specifically called out Joaquin Phoenix's performance in Gladiator. I thought he's like, yep, this guy's fantastic. Even though he's like 6 inches shorter than me, He's a fantastic actor.
When was the last time you saw Gladiator?
5 years ago, I'd say. Within the last 5 years.
We should figure out a way to rewatch that.
Oh, it's fantastic. I would like to rewatch that. It's a good movie.
I'm saying.
But this
watch
one,
that 300.
Going back to like Joaquin Phoenix is a method actor. We've had several conversations about method acting, and it's going to come up a little bit later in as we talk about this movie. But he and Reese Witherspoon actually did all their singing, all their instruments themselves. They went to like 6 months worth of like music school to get ready for
and
this.
Both of them sound great.
And what's crazy is, so Johnny Cash obviously has a very deep voice, a low register, and Joaquin Phoenix,
I'm Johnny Cash.
He couldn't get that register that low, so the band who played with them relearned all the music in a slightly higher key to match his voice. Mm-hmm. And then like the week before the movie started, they were doing final rehearsals, and then all of a sudden Joaquin Phoenix could hit that lower octave, and then they had to relearn how to play all the music in the correct key, which for professional musicians, that's not that big of a deal. But when you're practicing it for 6 months in a key, and then all of a sudden like you're listening to the singer and it doesn't sound right, you're like, oh, I got to switch keys. Like some musicians could just do it on the fly, but
if they're professional musicians, it's not an issue for them.
Yeah. So yeah, they had to do that, and apparently Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon hated each other in like music boot camp, but like developed a really good relationship and became very close friends once they actually started shooting the movie. But apparently they hated each other, and at one point, once they became friends, they made a pact that, because apparently this was like a really grueling schedule and it was really tricky, that they said
by the way,
either one of them decided to quit, they both will quit.
Oh, I think that's interesting that they had like an animosity going into the film. I think that's probably super useful for getting into character.
Yeah, I think it can be. Like,
and knowing that Joaquin is a method actor, I wonder if he kind of did that on purpose.
Maybe. So
like not to be mean, just a little antagonistic.
I could see that being the case. I think he has a darkness in him because his method
you think?
Acting always, I'm just going to bring it up at the top, but I think it's one of the things that Walk Hard did the best is on this aspect. But Joaquin Phoenix, when he gets into his method acting mode, it feels like his go-to is like to destroy shit. Like he rips a sink out of the wall in this movie, and that wasn't scripted. They weren't expecting him to do that. And
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was not scripted. That was just him acting, and he ripped it out of the wall, which means you can only do one take. You can't reset and do that. So it's kind of selfish to do that. When he did The Master, when he was in that cell, he smashed that toilet, and that was also something that he just improv. But that toilet was apparently like an antique that they had to like borrow to make the set authentic, and it was like a $15,000 toilet that he just smashed on the set of The Master. So it's like his inclination is to destroy shit, which is a little alarming and a little concerning.
You know that story about Kurt Russell and the guitar in Hateful Eight, right?
No, I actually haven't seen Hateful
that?
Eight. It's like the only Tarantino movie I haven't actually seen.
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean,
it's 4 hours. I need to wait until I actually have.
It's not 4 hours.
It's like 3.
Maybe the
change.
Extended cut has.
Yeah, it's 3 and the extended cut's only like 36 minutes longer. It's not. It's for all intents and purposes, it's 4 hours. It's close enough to 4 hours.
I'm not going to bother taking you apart over that. Kurt Russell had no, he's a bounty hunter, and he's got I can't remember her name now. He's got one of the women in the movie. Famous actress. I feel awful that I'm not remembering her name. Anyway, she's playing guitar at one point, and he lets her sort of sing some lyrics or sing a song, and she changes some of the lyrics to poke fun at his character. And he basically goes over to her and says, "Playtime's over," and grabs a guitar and smashes it.
Oh shit!
So when they were shooting the movie, they were lent a guitar by, I think, Martin Guitars, and it was like a priceless guitar.
Oh, no.
Not replaceable. And
was it Jennifer
the way they were filming it, Jennifer Jason Leigh, thank you. I knew there's a J in there. So the way they were shooting the scene was they would get up to the point where he snatches the guitar out of her hand, call cut, switch in the prop guitar that's meant to be smashed, and then he would smash that, and they'd continue filming, or they'd continue filming and then he'd smash that.
Yeah, I was gonna say they should film while he smashes.
They did a take where they didn't stop, and he thought that she was holding the replica guitar, and he picked it up and smashed it. And you can hear her. They used the take in the movie, so you can hear her going, "Oh no, no!" like being really surprised, and it's all real.
Shit.
And for that reason, that guitar company, which I think is Martin, is not lending guitars to movies anymore.
That makes sense. But to my point with
What other
doing it, every time that Dewey Cox is upset in that movie, he destroys a sink. He rips a sink out of the wall, and at the very end of the movie, there's a flashback of a scene we didn't see. But he goes into a men's room, and there's just a row of like 6 sinks, and he just rips them all off the wall. And I love that part of the spoof is like they're not just spoofing the movie, they're spoofing Joaquin Phoenix at that point, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. What other movies was he in where he broke things?
The Master. I know for a fact.
I want to make a supercut. He swings a baseball bat a lot in Signs.
Yeah, he broke a bunch of water glasses.
Oh, he was in To Die For. That's right. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, he breaks shit, and it's just I think I get that you're getting in that mode, and I think that obviously we've had this conversation before. You're for method acting. I think method acting's fine to an extent where if you're doing shit like that, where you're breaking things where now you can only do one take, you're now fucking over some crew member's day where he now has to fucking clean up a shitload of water and call a plumber. Like when it's affecting other people negatively.
I mean, listen, that is like solidly in gray area territory. Those guys are getting paid. They're there to do their job.
I know you've made movies, but like when you're on a film set and it's running the way it's supposed to, like everything is like scheduled down to the minute. And when you have to deal with shit like that throws a whole wrench in whatever you're shooting. You can't do any additional takes. You now maybe have to move on to another scene. You may have to change your setups that they weren't expecting to shoot.
I think that if Joaquin Phoenix was fucking up film sets that badly, he would not continue to get work because he'd be too big of a liability.
You would think that, but there are a lot of people who still work who people know are assholes. Like, Hollywood covers up a lot of shit. Like, it turns out, like, the whole Kevin Spacey thing was, like, an open secret. Like, everybody knew about it, and yet people just let it go. So, I don't think you're right in that regards, that because if people are willing to let it go, if they think that this movie's going to get an Oscar, they let things slide. And I don't agree with that.
Well, listen, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think that you have to allow for things to be a little rough around the edges when you're creating art. If everything's perfect and it's planned out and it's painted within lines and everything happens on time and exactly the way it's supposed to, then you're probably not creating great art. Not that it's impossible. Not that that's impossible. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
but I think
if you're not allowing for there to be somebody like Joaquin Phoenix who, does things like breaking a sink once in a while, you're missing out on stuff.
But I mean, there's a difference. Like that's pure ego at that point.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's pure ego at that point. And you're right. You need to have flexibility. You need to let your characters do things. I don't think you necessarily have to block every little movement. You don't need to choreograph every movement. You don't need script to be 100% perfect, because a lot of times some of the best lines in movies are ad-libbed and everything. So I think that kind of stuff's fine. But when you're like fucking up sets, breaking shit that's not meant to be broken, that's just a disrespect to your coworkers. It's disrespect to your like, it should be like a family on set. I know a lot of sets are like that. Like, it's just showing that you don't give a shit about your colleague, that they're gonna have to.
I would say, again, you're not entirely wrong there. What you're saying makes sense, but I also think that you're making a lot of assumptions about this specific situation without actually having had conversations with people that were there, or the director, or whoever. He might have gone up to the director and said, "Hey, I got an idea. Is it an issue if I break something in this room?" And James Mangold might have been like, "No, do whatever you need to do. Like, get there."
We didn't even bring up that James Mangold directed this. As soon as I saw his name at the front, I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be a good movie." We said the same thing when we did 310 to Yuma.
He's great. He's a really good like journeyman director.
Yeah.
But do you see what I'm saying about that? Like, unless there's like a scandal and like, here's a perfect counterpoint to that. John Boyega has come out and talked about how Joss Whedon was abusive on set, right?
He has not worked with Joss Whedon.
Or not John Boyega, I'm sorry.
I know.
The guy,
Fisher.
yeah, Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
Oh man, that looks bad. But he's come out and said that Joss Whedon is abusive on set, and other people have backed it up. And it's, I mean, maybe you read something different, but I haven't heard anything about that, like that, about Joss Whedon. Oh my God, about Joaquin Phoenix on this movie, right?
I mean, the fact that it got out there means it's just saying, like, if I were a director, like, I'd be annoyed if I was the guy who had to clean up that mess. Like, there's Joaquin Phoenix doing this shit. Like, I'm just saying you don't know. Sure, you don't know what happened on that set though. So all the venom that you're spewing at Joaquin Phoenix right now.
But we know it came back to bite him.
But everything you're saying about Joaquin Phoenix right now,
where he was
everything that you're saying about
breaking a $10,000 toilet because he doesn't give a shit.
He might have had conversations with the directors that said that's fine, and then you should be saying this about the director. But then it's like, I don't know, man. That's their set. They can run it the way they want to, as long as people aren't getting hurt. You got to clean up a sink. You got to do a little bit of extra work. Okay.
Yeah, but when you're smashing porcelain and porcelain's flying around, somebody can get hurt.
Dude, okay, now you're talking. No, now you know how close people were on the set. You know how many people were on the set.
And I think you kind of excuse artists to too much extent. Like, I'm just saying it's an extremely disrespectful thing, and I don't think being the lead in a movie,
it's extremely disrespectful.
It's extremely breaking shit that you know somebody else is going to have to fix is pretty shitty. And then you're also setting up where you cannot do another take. Like, just as an art form, like, you cannot do another take on that scene.
But the director might have been fine with that. They might have known that they were only doing one take.
I don't know. We can agree to disagree.
You're assuming that okay. I mean, you're assuming
clearly
that he didn't have a conversation with James Mangold about it.
Well, no, I mean but clearly it was enough of an issue that people knew about it, where they spoofed it in the spoof of this movie, where they show him break like 1,000 sinks over the course of this movie, just because they know Joaquin Phoenix did that.
What is it with Joaquin Phoenix in bathrooms too? He's always doing weird stuff in bathrooms.
That's true.
You said he broke a toilet too, right?
Yeah, and that was in The Master when he was in like a prison cell. But yeah, he broke a toilet, and that was like an irreplaceable toilet. Why is he always breaking things in
bathrooms?
And that's
no good, man. Don't let him in your bathroom.
But I'm sure Kurt Russell felt like shit breaking that guitar.
Oh yeah, he did. Oh, sorry. Just so I feel like I said this, Joaquin Phoenix also might have like made it right with the crew members by getting them all Monty's vegan burgers or something afterwards. We don't know.
That's
he might have apologized to him, and it might have been fine. Somebody might have been annoyed for a day and then never thought about it again.
That's possible, but it's also like, if you think that's something you might do, I think you're right. Go ahead and mention it. But the fact that, people are like, they weren't expecting it. Like, I'm just saying, like, if I were a director, like if I were a director, that's not something I would allow on my film set. Like, don't break shit. What if I want another take? Like, don't break shit. If that's going to be an issue, sorry, you're not in my movie. But I'm not a director.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's right for Kubrick to torture Shelley Duvall or for Hitchcock to stalk or harass his female stars.
I think that's that.
But I don't think that breaking a sink is the same thing.
We can agree to disagree on that. When he does it in more than one movie, it just shows that he has a tendency to break shit. And then it bites.
Let's get Joaquin on the show and ask him about it.
Yeah.
Joaquin, you are welcome on the show, my friend. And I'm vegan too, so we can talk about
veganism,
saving cows.
All right. Well, we should move on. We're 30 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about this movie. I think we're gonna have to do like a speed run on this one, so we can get to Walk Hard, because I know that's where you want to spend a bulk of the
That's
time.
Really, yeah. I mean, Walk the Line's great. I had a lot of fun with it. Oh, I will say, no, this is a Walk Hard thing. Yeah, Walk the Line's just fun.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to say is, I've seen Walk Hard before. Excuse me. Start again. Obviously, I've seen Walk Hard before, so rewatching Walk the Line was interesting. And I watched it first because I wanted to see exactly what they were parodying in Walk Hard, where the joke comes from or whatever. And Walk the Line is cool because even knowing that some of this stuff was spoofed in a really effective way, and thinking about that while watching a scene, still really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I agree. So I always watch the original movie first, no matter what episode
always.
we're doing. Unless there's like some weird reason why I couldn't. But this, I agree. It makes it, it made that one way more enjoyable watching Walk the Line first and seeing like, oh, this is exactly where that came from. I thought that was fascinating. Just a few things about the background of this movie, and I guess we can just jump to our other segment before moving into Walk the Line or Walk Hard. But the scene towards the middle of the movie when he's really kind of starting to hit rock bottom, when he's starting his relationship with June, there's a point where they're like very upset. This is like the performance where he like passes out on stage, but he goes out on stage and he's like staring at her, like he's just mean mugging her so hard. And James Mangold told him like, go out there, improvise this, like try to make her uncomfortable, because you're just pretend that you're really pissed off at your girlfriend, but you have to go work with her right now. And then he just stared at her, and Reese Witherspoon just didn't react at all and kept singing. And apparently it made Joaquin Phoenix really uncomfortable because he was trying to make her uncomfortable and she didn't flinch. And it was really weird for him apparently to try to make someone uncomfortable and not succeed.
That's awesome.
Take that for what you will. But overall, I mean, this is a fantastic movie. Like, there's a reason why it was an Oscar contender, and it made it to, you know, getting to go to a second run in movies. Because back in the day, all the Oscar movies would come back out. They still do it to a lesser extent, but it's like, oh, we're just going to have...
Not this year.
Yeah, but this movie was huge, and it's a fantastic movie. The performances are great. You got the T-1000 in it, is the dad.
That's so funny that you said that, because I was thinking I like Robert Patrick. I've liked him in a lot of other stuff. I cannot not see Terminator 2 when I see him in something.
Oh, that's funny. Most of the time when I see him at other things, that's funny. Katrina always sees him as Doggett from X-Files, because she's obsessed with X-Files.
Oh, yeah.
And I of course see him as T-1000, because obviously as I almost said 20-something, 32 years old, as a 30-ish man, Terminator 2 is a
Gen Z
big deal to me. But
Snapchat
I think
generation.
he's fantastic in everything. Anytime I see him in a movie, he always puts in a really, really great performance. So I thought he was good in this, but apparently the animosity between Johnny and Ray Cash was nowhere near as bad as it was in the movie. Like, they actually were very close most of the time after he got famous. So, but you need a villain in a movie, and
yeah, I mean, they patched it up at the end here.
Yeah.
You know, that's
hello,
a little
granddaughters.
license.
I thought that was a really cute scene when he's like playing with the tin can telephone with his granddaughters at the end.
And I like that it's kind of not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the central, I guess the second central relationship in the movie, but it's the reason that Johnny is the way that he is. It's the most important in that sense.
Yeah.
And we know that June Carter and him are going to get together. And the way that they pay it off is just this like simple conversation between the two of them. And it's just really nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
You don't have to have this big showdown like, you never loved me, and I always loved you.
And he's ripping sinks off the wall.
Yeah.
And then Robert Patrick is like, that's not professional.
I appreciate that. Yeah, they didn't need to tie it up with a nice bow and everything. Like, we just understand that the fact that we see him after he's recovered and happy, and he's really close with his granddaughters, and he's able to just have a nonchalant conversation. Dad, you gotta pull the string tight, man. Like, I thought it was a really sweet ending to the movie, and I thought he was great. I thought all the bandmates were great. Everything about this movie I thought was really good. So I really enjoyed watching it again. I really don't think we need to talk too much about it, because literally everything that happens in this movie happens in Walk Hard with a comical twist. So with that being said,
have some coke on me.
Jesus, what did you do? What did you do? What the fuck did you do?
What did I do? You fuck with the bull, you get the horns. That's what I did.
So what have you been up to, bud?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to buy some time while I open up my letterbox here, because I wasn't prepared, because like Joaquin Phoenix, I'm not a professional. So on the same day that I watched Walk the Line, I watched a little movie with Michael Keaton called The Founder. Have you seen that?
I have seen it. It's great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I have nitpicky issues with it, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. It was funny to watch that and Walk the Line in the same day, because both movies are about what's the word?
Men
who are very driven by something, who end up leaving their wives to marry other women and go on to become,
super successful,
extremely successful in their field. But the stuff with the wives specifically is like very similar between the two movies.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. We watched The Fate of the Furious.
Yep.
That was on the list. I watched The King of Staten Island finally.
Oh, the Pete Davidson film.
Yeah, I liked it.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that's your exact reaction, your exact inflection, the way you said it. Everybody I know who's seen it, that's their exact thing. Yeah, I liked it. It was fine. Maybe it would have got more buzz if it didn't come out during the pandemic, but
I think it's as good as. No, wait, I don't want to say it like that. I think that reaction is as much as you can hope for, being that it's a Pete Davidson movie. And that's not an insult to Pete Davidson. That's just what I think most people's opinion is of him.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Generally. You know what I mean? Like any movie that he does, no matter how good it is, there's going to be a transition movie before people accept him as an actual actor, if that's what he's going for. So I think this is great. I think it's exactly what he needed to do if he's trying to transition into being sort of a real actor's rude. But you know what I'm saying, right?
I know what you mean, like a respected dramatic actor. Because you're right, most of the comedians have to do that. Even though it's kind of funny,
no,
like,
but
obviously you have like Robin Williams who started. Oh, sorry.
It's not even comedians, because I think Bill Burr kind of jumped right into doing dramatic acting and was accepted. I think it's Pete Davidson specifically. Like he's got baggage for the type of comedy that he did and the type of public personality that he has.
Yeah,
that makes it so that he can't just jump straight into doing dramatic movies without there being like some clowning on him.
You're right, but I mean, even people like Jim Carrey had that transition period where he had to do your Truman Show, which was it was still a comedy, but had some serious stuff to it. And then he did
Majestic.
Yeah, he did The Majestic, and then he was able to go back and forth between comedy and drama. Robin Williams, funny enough, like he did his stand up in Mork and Mindy, and he kind of got his movie roles starting with drama. He obviously did Good Morning Vietnam, but he also did like Dead Poet Society and other dramatic movies. Then he was big time comedy with Aladdin and 90s, just slew of comedies. And then when he went to do What Dreams May Come, people were kind of like confused with him going back to drama, like he hadn't done drama. So I feel like even the best comedians still a lot of times have to have a transition film, which is not necessarily fair.
Yeah. But then, and yeah, you're right. And then on top of that, I think Pete Davidson has this aura of being like goofy and not in like a comedian way.
Yeah.
But like just being like, what,
yeah,
obnoxious, I guess.
I feel you.
What else? I watched Logan Lucky for the second time.
I love that movie.
It's so good, man.
We watched it for the first time like 2 months ago or something like that, but it's really good.
I think people were calling it like Hillbilly Ocean 11.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But it's kind of, I mean, yes and no, but I think it's a pretty like, it's not a typical Hollywood portrayal of rednecks. You know what I mean? These are all like really cool, interesting characters. They're not like playing stereotypes.
Yeah, they weren't like the kind of rednecks. It was like people who are obviously not the most educated, but they have skills and they have an intelligence in the field that they pursued. Like Daniel Craig as an explosive demolition man was hilarious, and whatever accent he was doing was insane. But he was so good in that movie.
Do you think if you were casting a movie and you needed someone to be like the most beautiful person in the world, like that's the character that they're kind of playing in the movie, would you cast Channing Tatum?
No, he looks kind of like a potato.
Like a really buff potato.
Him and Daniel Craig were having like a potato off contest in that movie.
Channing Tatum is too buff to play Gambit, right? Like I feel like Gambit's like a lean guy.
Yeah, and he does a lot of flips and rolls and shoulder rolls and dives, and he's very acrobatic. Yeah, I don't see him as Gambit, and I don't think we ever actually will, because that movie's been in like development for like 15 years.
I think it'll happen in some form. I think it might not be a movie. I think it might end up being, Disney Plus cartoon.
I
or
think
something.
with Marvel taking over and Channing Tatum's star, like he's still a big enough draw you can put him in a movie, but I don't think he's as much of a draw as he used to be. And he's trying to do his like own movies now. Like he's writing and directing a movie that's shooting like right now. So we'll see.
Good for him.
He was supposed to direct Gambit if he got it at one point.
He's trying to Ryan Reynolds that shit.
Yeah.
I know he didn't direct it, but that's like he is heavily producing.
Well, apparently Deadpool 3, Ryan Reynolds has complete control, creative control.
I think I heard that he's not writing that one, though.
He's not writing it. He hired two of the writers, the sister writers. I can't recall their names right now, but the sister writers from Bob's Burger are writing it.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Molyneux or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But he wrote the first two Deadpools, right?
No, he didn't write them. So I think Ruben Fleischer, who did like Zombieland and Gangster Squad, I think he did the initial pass, and then somebody else did it. Like he was very heavily involved, but I don't think he's part of the guild, so he definitely can't get like writer's credit.
Interesting. All right, I also watched Happiest Season.
Is that the one
rom-com
with Kristen Stewart and
Mackenzie Davis?
Yeah,
and
that's
Schitt's
on our
Creek.
list. Schitt's Creek, Dan Levy.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
It's on our list to watch. We're probably gonna watch it this weekend.
And I watched Chronicle for the first time.
Oh, the first time? It's a fun movie.
I liked it more than I thought I was going to. Fuck Max Landis, but I enjoyed
Josh
it.
Trank.
I don't know about fuck Josh Trank.
Josh Trank is an asshole. Like everybody on the set of Fantastic Four said he was an asshole. He destroyed. So they rented a house for him. He destroyed the house with his dogs and like completely destroyed it. Like Fox said he was out of control. The people whose house he rented was like he was out of control. All the actors didn't like him, and then he was like a dickhead after the fact. Now fuck Josh Trank. He's even admitted after the fact that he was an asshole.
Yeah, but okay, but people can be assholes and reflect on it, and then make amends or whatever and learn from it. So this is like a podcast where I just defend people who are dicks. I gotta watch Capone. Have you seen that?
I have not watched Capone. I've heard very mixed things about it.
I guess I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, and I don't want to die on this hill, but having not seen Fantastic Four either, so this is just all hypothetical speculation. From what I understand about Fantastic Four is that he got incredibly fucked on that, and he was brought along onto a huge movie way too soon in his career. So I understand why in that position somebody would find themselves lashing out and acting the way that he did. So I'm not condoning it, but I understand why that happened.
I can see
if he's able to sort of reflect on that, he's been in film jail for a while. He did Capone and it didn't get any push really. So, 10, 15 years, if he's making good movies and not being a dick.
You're right.
I think that's
I'm
okay.
cool with giving him another shot down the line, but it's just like he's still being kind of a dickhead. Like it wasn't until like the last 6 months to a year where he's kind of been like, yeah, I was kind of a dickhead and in the wrong when I made Fantastic Four and everything. But it's like up until like some random tweet, like I think he did a Letterboxd review of Fantastic Four. That was like a one sentence thing where he kind of was like, yeah, I'm an asshole, but it is what it is. Anything else you watched?
Did I say that I enjoyed Chronicle? I just said I watched it.
You did. No, you said you enjoyed it a lot more than you thought you were going to. Michael B. Jordan's in it. Don DeHaan.
I forgot that Michael B. Jordan was in it. It's cool to see him young again.
He's good
even
in
though
it.
he was Wallace in The Wire, and he's super young in that. He's always been great.
Yeah, he's super good. There was what was it? There was like some soap opera that he was in that was supposed to go to Chadwick Boseman, and then Chadwick Boseman just didn't like the role and like filmed like one episode and then left, and then Michael B. Jordan took over the role for Chadwick Boseman.
Nice.
Deep cut factoid.
Deep cut.
Chadwick Boseman,
All right.
Michael B. Jordan.
What have you been watching, bud?
I've had a lot of time, actually. Katrina was working on a few sets, and so I started watching a bunch of stuff. But obviously, The Mandalorian, that last episode, we're not going to spoil it, but I thought it was a
when the guy does a thing.
Oh, he did so many things. But between the last
guy's
2
wearing
episodes, I was like, fuck, I need to go back and watch some of the other stuff. So I started watching Star Wars Rebels, and I'm really liking it. I'm about, I want to say, halfway done with the first season, and I don't necessarily like the
same
animation.
creator, of course, Dave Filoni.
Yeah, Dave Filoni's great. I'm really hope between him and Jon Favreau, I hope they just give them the keys to the Star Wars car and just let them run Star Wars. Take it away from Kathleen Kennedy.
I mean, well, yeah, I guess Kathleen Kennedy is there, but they're essentially doing that right now.
They're doing
there's no other Star Wars stuff going on, and they're setting up.
Well, there's a bunch of movies being developed, and I don't know if they have any movies.
There's going to be an Ahsoka Tano series as well, spinoff
right.
Maybe. They're talking about it, and that's one of his characters.
Yep. But it's after watching the last 2 episodes, I went back to Rebels. I don't necessarily like the animation style, but it's surprisingly dark for a kid's cartoon. Like, it's like the rating pops up on Disney Plus every time, and it's like Y7, so you're supposed to be like 7 years older to watch that cartoon. But like, they're killing.
And then there's just like boobs and fucking.
Well, they kill
people's guts getting blown out.
People in that, like, stormtroopers are dying constantly in that movie or in that show. But it's good Star Wars. I'm actually really enjoying it. So that's one thing I was watching. As another thing, I wanted like another like sitcom kind of thing that I can watch when I have 20 minutes here and there. So I started watching season 2 of Superstore. Like, I watched season 1 when it originally was on.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like 4 or 5 episodes into season 2. It's good. I wouldn't say I love this show, but I generally have at least one laugh every episode. So I'm not watching that as quickly.
I'm sure
as
that's what they're aiming for.
Yeah, I wasn't like a lot of times I'll hit like 2 or 3 episodes of the show that I'm watching in a day, maybe 3 or 4, and I'm watching one on my lunch and that's it. But it's funny, it's good enough. It's got your friend in it. I can't remember his name, but we talked about him when
I was going to say I like
the
Ben Feldman.
Yeah,
I like him because I ran into him at Hamilton.
Yeah, I watched Home Alone. Yeah, first Christmas movie of the season. I watched the Christmas Chronicles Part 2, the Kurt Russell Santa Claus franchise.
Are we doing Christmas movies for the podcast?
We should be doing one Christmas special. So I've got a couple ideas. I guess we can just...
Are we going to do a Christmas special with like more than 2 movies?
No, I don't think so. I was thinking either Miracle on 34th Street or The Grinch.
I'm more into The Grinch.
Okay. Yeah, I
think
a couple
it might be
The Grinch.
cool to not do... It might be cool to like not do remakes. So I was thinking we could do like 3 or 4 movies that are all Christmas movies.
We could talk about it. We'll figure it out.
No, we have to decide now on air.
I mean, we just did a topic episode, so normally we go back to the form, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of the other things I started watching Cosmos. The latest season of Cosmos has like 8 episodes on Hulu. Fucking love that show. It's fantastic. Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy was like a big force in he threw his weight around at Fox to help Neil deGrasse Tyson get that show made, and I think it's super good.
It's interesting. Seth MacFarlane's not a big guy either. He doesn't have a lot of weight.
No.
He's in good shape.
After watching Christmas Chronicles and just fucking being in love with Kurt Russell, I decided to watch Big Trouble in Little China. Katrina had never seen it, and so we watched that, and she really enjoyed it.
Pork Chop Express, baby.
Yeah, dude, that movie's fucking rad. I love how... Yeah. I'm stealing this observation. I told my friend Dustin, who used to be a host of this show, that I was watching it, and he's like, he watched it a couple weeks back, and he's telling me, he's like, if you really pay attention to the movie, literally every line that Kurt Russell has as Jack Burton is almost like he's delivering it like it's a question. And it's true, like almost every line he gives, whether it's a question or not, and most of his lines are questions, are delivered like they're a question, because he's supposed to be like an idiot. And I forgot how many times he takes himself out of action, because he's not like a kung fu guy. Like literally everybody else in the movie are like gifted martial artists, and like there's one point where he shoots the gun and then like the ceiling collapses on him and he's like incapacitated for one fight, and then there's another part where he has like a knife in his boot and he like kicks a guy, and then the guy's just like pinning him to the ground, and he misses an entire fight because he's pinned to the ground. So I really thought that was great. And then the last thing that I watched, Imagineering on Disney Plus. It's basically a documentary about about WED and the Imagineers and how they built Disneyland, and how every time there was a regime change, how they were always like, we're not going to have jobs anymore. And it got to a point where like they were building theme parks, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're not going to build theme parks anymore, so you're going to like update Angel Stadium and make that cool. And then they're like, okay, now you got to build a cruise ship. And just like seeing the shit that they invented is insane. Like they were building roller coasters and they had no backgrounds in roller coasters. So you see like some of their prototypes of like Splash Mountain, and it's just like, this would have killed people because it would hit the water way too hard. And so it's like they're getting people who did not know how to build roller coasters to build roller coasters. And then like when they're talking about the cruise ship, they had one of the Imagineers who built the theme parks and he built the buildings. So he was still like an architect, but they're like, you go and build this cruise ship. And he's like, I've only ever fucking built buildings. They were not supposed to move. So he's like, yeah, I just spent a couple weeks reading books about cruise ships. And then he was like in charge of building the Disney cruise liner. So that's it's a really fascinating documentary. Each episode's about an hour, narrated by Angela Bassett. And cool. Kurt Russell actually pops up a couple different times because he was like Disney's go-to person for quite a while. But it's fantastic.
Right.
But, I think that's everything I want.
I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds cool.
I've
been rewatching. Go ahead.
One other thing, just a plug. It's out on Patreon for Two Peas on a Podcast, but it'll be dropping on December 23rd. But I was actually a guest host on Two Peas on a Pod. It's a weekly podcast. Every week they do like a top 5 list, and I was invited on to make the top 5 list of my on-screen Santas. And it was a blast. I really had a great time talking to Gerald on that show, and I'll be linking to it once it drops. So our next episode will actually drop on Christmas Day, and whatever Christmas special we end up doing, I will make sure to have links to that. But check it out. It was a really, really fun podcast I got to be on as a guest. So I will link to that show in this episode, but be on the lookout. If you want to subscribe to their Patreon, subscribe to our Patreon first. But if you want to subscribe to their Patreon, the episode has been up for about a week already, but drops on December 23rd.
Cool.
And that's what I've been up to, bud.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Sounds like we've both been up to good stuff.
Yeah. You got anything else before we move on? Before I elevator pitch you?
I was going to say I've been rewatching Futurama and The Simpsons again. That's the only other thing. I forgot about TV shows.
I tried to rewatch Futurama, and it's not that I didn't like it. I was just like, I don't know if I can get invested in this much content. Same thing with The Simpsons. I'm like, there's just so much. I don't know if I want to get invested in that right now.
My trick with The Simpsons was, it's been a while since I watched Futurama, so it's more engaging for me. But I don't mind if I skip an episode either. And then my trick with The Simpsons was to skip the first 3 seasons. And I sort of watch it in order, but I'll jump around. I'm watching it with Scarlett as well. And like, she wants to watch something without me, then I'll just jump up to where she is.
Got it.
So I'm not as rigorous.
Good. Yeah, you shouldn't be rigorous with The Simpsons.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be rigorous with a lot of things.
Yeah. All right.
Some things you should be rigorous with.
What's your executive name that I'm pitching to?
Timothy Boswell III.
Timothy Boswell III. Mr. Boswell III.
You can just call me Tim.
Hey, Tim. I've got a movie. I've got this script that needs to be made.
Can you push 5 for me?
What?
Push 5.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm going to the 5th floor. I don't touch the elevator. You do. Go ahead.
Totally fair, Tim. So this script was
it's a very slow elevator.
The 2006 Blacklist. It was actually voted the best script not made in 2006. Remember Walk the Line? How
I do.
Blew up. Got all, it was nominated.
What's the
for
Blacklist?
So the Blacklist is a list of scripts that didn't get produced, and a lot of writers and actors will actually read these scripts and do table reads of movies that didn't get made and kind of vote on what were the best screenplays that didn't get purchased that year or didn't get produced. So,
all right.
So yeah, Walk Hard was actually the on the list of most liked unmade scripts of the year. So I've got this. It's a parody of Walk the Line, but it's not just a parody of the movie, which it very closely follows the movie for the first half, but eventually it kind of parodies all of the 60s, 70s, 80s, as well as kind of spoofing the production of Walk the Line. I'm sure you heard about the incident with Joaquin Phoenix destroying a sink. Well, we're going to destroy like 1,000 sinks.
I thought he destroyed a toilet.
Oh, he did that too. That was on The Master.
This is a different movie.
Yeah. But this one, Walk the Line, he did destroy a sink, and there was a very...
This guy destroys a lot of things in bathrooms, doesn't he?
Yeah, there was a grip that was really angry because he got a little cut on his finger from flying porcelain. And
I've always said we need to be
about this.
We need to be very professional on sets. I lose a lot of money to lawsuits against Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep. But you got to make this. I'm thinking, we had Talladega Night was huge last year. I want to give John C. Reilly a shot. Give him a picture. I think he'd be great as a fictitious Johnny Cash knockoff.
You think he can carry the movie, huh?
I think he can absolutely carry this movie.
You think people are going to want to stare at that face for 2 hours?
And he's cheap.
I like cheap. I do like cheap. Make it happen. This is my floor.
Got it. Ding.
Ding.
Thanks, Tim.
Don't call me Tim.
This movie was really fun.
It is really fun. It's one of my favorite comedies, period.
Like it starts like the exact
it's
same
fantastic.
way Walk the Line does, with like him like in a hallway, dark, like pondering, like his fist on the wall and his like head on his fist. And you already brought up the opening line, the like, Mr. Cox, we need you on stage. You're up in a minute. And he had Sam, who's his drummer's like, he needs to look upon his whole life before he performs. And then like it just goes right to the beginning of Walk the Line, where like he's a poor farmer kid and he's got his brother so much better. And like it's like, hey brother, like Nate, why are you so much better than me? And like he's just like a prodigy at everything. And they go get in a machete fight and he cuts his brother in half. Oh, the wrong son died. You're not even half the son that he was. You're not even half the son he was. You're saying I'm not even a quarter of what Nate was? It's stupid, but it's like they delivered the line so well. It's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so well done, man. I feel, for me, like all the jokes hit and it's just so well paced. I noticed watching it that, and I think it's relevant to our last conversation, that this is like kind of a blend of the Judd Apatow crew style improv, where they'll just let two funny people talk forever and cut it up so it makes sense, and the more scripted, 10 jokes a minute Zucker Brothers style, like Hot Shots.
I agree.
And those movies and stuff. So there's a bunch of gags in this that don't rely on improv at all. There's drafts and shit and things that require setup and need to be filmed in a certain way, that you can't just turn the camera on and let it run while funny people talk. But then there's also those jokes.
Yeah,
it works so well.
When it comes down to it, it is still a biopic, however we're going to say it. There's still
the correct way
music. There's still him singing. There's still bands in the background.
The fucking songs, dude. The songs are so good.
They are good. Like they're obviously like stupid, but like they work with the melody. They still
but they're
the
very well
of a
written.
good song.
Like,
yeah.
If they had different lyrics, you'd listen. Yeah.
But no,
I checked out the artists that wrote the songs actually, and they're pretty good. Dan Byrne and Mike Viola, I want to say.
I was just looking at the list, and I didn't catch every reference, but they didn't. Obviously, most of this movie is a spoof of Johnny Cash, but Bob Dylan. There's a part where he goes through a phase where he's mimicking Bob Dylan. Why doesn't anybody ever ask why Bob Dylan doesn't? It makes me like, Ray Charles, David Bowie, Queen, Meatloaf, Dave Crosby, Jim Morrison. Like, there's just a ton of people that they spoof in this movie, and it's like the third act of the movie, which you kind of talked about at the top of the episode, is like extended. Like, there's a lot of deep cuts in that I forgot about.
Well, I'm looking at the timeline right now, so let's kind of go through it really quickly.
Yeah, let's do it.
This has Dewey Cox's rise to fame, and it all sort of mirrors the Walk the Line story. And it gets to the point where he marries, he carries on a relationship with June Carter while he's still married. And then his wife leaves him, and June Carter can't handle his drugs and is also mad at him about, or not June Carter, sorry, Jenna Fisher is mad at him for getting married when he was already married. So he has this dark period. He has the dark fucking times period. And then he gets clean 47 minutes into the movie. And him and
the movie?
I told you, man, the first half is Walk Hard, or the first half is Walk the Line. And then it becomes a parody of music films in general. So he has he gets into the thing in the second half of the movie where he can't write a song anymore, and he wants to still be a musician, and he ends up relapsing because of it. So he has this Bob Dylan phase. Oh, I'm sorry, he is writing music at this point.
But he just can't.
But this is when he's super into. No, it's not even up to that yet. He gets into his Bob Dylan phase, and they're like living together, and then he meets the Beatles, and then he starts doing acid, and then he like has a freak out where he does PCP.
That was a great
when
scene.
He can't finish the epic song because he's trying to process the death of his brother.
That reminded me of Frasier in the episode when he had to write he had the option of writing his own theme song, and then he does exactly the same thing. He has like Aboriginal music and everything. Like it's exactly the same thing, overproduced.
Yeah. He takes PCP, and she Pam Beasley leaves him for good, and then he has to come to terms that he does a TV show, and then he has to come to terms that he might not be a musician for a while, so he makes good with his dad and decides to take care of his kids. And then we jump ahead to like 20 years later, and they're together, and he writes the final song, and that's where the movie
Beautiful
picks
Ride
up from the beginning. Beautiful Ride's a good song, man.
It is.
Eddie Vedder introduces him.
Yeah. One of my favorite reoccurring jokes in this, and I think they do a great job of repeating a joke over and over again in a way that doesn't make it get stale, because you have Kristen Wiig, who's fantastic at this. She has a couple of my favorite lines in the movie. So the part they spoof this, that they do the same thing in Walk the Line. So in Walk the Line, he's like a kid, and then it shoots out to him like going out to the Air Force, and he's like full grown Joaquin Phoenix, and he looks like Joaquin Phoenix, 30 something Joaquin Phoenix the rest of the movie, even though he's like fresh out of high school. So in this, like, he's a little kid, and then he's supposed to be 15 years old, and he's at the talent show. And he's 14 years old, he's at his high school talent show, and then it's John C. Reilly, and he's just
who looks like a healthy 80-year-old.
Right. And so he goes, and there's a point where he plays a song that's super clean and just like, let's go for a walk and we'll hold each other's hands, and everybody's just like all the girls are ripping their tops off, and the pastor is like, that's the devil's music.
Like a riot breaks out, which is such a good, I mean, you can apply that to the Beatles, you can apply it to any rock band from the 60s through the 90s, where parents thought that teenagers were going to start worshiping Satan and having orgies and doing, heroin.
He gets driven out of town, and like Margot Martindale, character actor Margot Martindale. Oh, I watched The Rocketeer as well, and she was in that movie. So I watched two movies back to back, like same day. I watched this and Rocketeer the same day. Margot Martindale's in both of them. Character actor Margot Martindale.
Yeah.
But
she's great. She's good for Heist too.
Oh, she's fantastic. She's good for Heist. But he gets like run out of town, and she's like, he's only 14. He's like, no, Mom, it's fine. Like, I've outgrown this town. And then Kristen Wiig is his girlfriend, and she goes, can I come? Of course you can. You're my girlfriend. She goes, I am. He goes, yeah, I pointed at you in the audience. And then she goes, I'm his 12-year-old girlfriend. And I laughed my ass off. And then like the next scene, like they have a baby, and she's like, you need to quit. We need to go back home. You can get a job at the slaughterhouse. And he's like, I think I'm doing pretty good with it for a 15-year-old with a wife and a baby. And she's like, you're never going to make it. And then he gets famous. Like, he records his first album, and he's already famous. Like, he's got a number 3 song on the Billboard, or the popular music chart instead of the Billboard music chart. And she's like, you're never going to make it. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm on tour. I bought you a house. And then like every time she's on screen, it doesn't matter if it's a good interaction or a bad one, she's like, you're never going to make it.
Which feels a little bit like this is why they're doing it, but it feels like the Jennifer Goodwin character in Walk the Line. Like, I think that Walk the Line didn't intend for that to happen, and that's why Walk Hard pounced on it. But she like weirdly is not supporting him when it seems like it's going well.
Right.
You know?
Like at all.
Yeah. And she's she's upset that he's not at home and being a father, and it's like not what she signed up for. It's understandable, but Walk Hard kind of just takes it to
the dad the whole
extreme.
movie. The wrong son died.
Wrong son died.
He
I mean,
trained
listen,
in
we could-
machete fighting, so he could challenge her to a machete fight at some point.
We could quote this entire movie. I'm referencing the text thread that you and I had going while I was watching it, and it's just like all of our favorite lines, and it's not short.
No, we had a good like half hour where we were just texting this random quotes from this movie, but it's infinitely
You know who's got
quotable.
hands?
The devil uses them for
And
holding.
he uses them. Holden.
This
Another thing that I like that they took from Walk the Line was there's like 2 or 3 moments where Dewey sort of wistfully looks off into the ether after someone says something to him. He has a fight with his wife or something, and he'll say something and then sort of just look off into the distance. And we realize that's how he's writing his songs. So the second time it happens, Kristen Wiig is like, "Don't you write a song about this?"
The other line I really liked was so this one I think
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. And you realize like he does that in Walk the Line.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's at least one moment where somebody says something to him, and it's not like silly, but you can see the wheels turning.
gears
and you're like,
turning,
oh yeah, that's how we wrote that song. Well, a gear is a wheel.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. That's totally fine. You could say wheels. I prefer gears.
What were you gonna say?
I say biopic. You say biopic.
Did you look up if Harold Ramis as the rabbi was speaking Yiddish?
I did not. I thought I thought you were.
I'm pretty sure that when
you described John C. Reilly as Crowdy.
Well, there's no context for that. So there's a scene where Dewey is in jail, and the rabbis who have rehab. Sorry, the rabbis who have funded and guided his career come to see him, and they're speaking in code so that the guards can't hear them. So Harold Ramis, I believe, starts speaking Yiddish or Hebrew, right?
Right.
And then and John C. Reilly responds to him in what sounds like German to me.
I thought he was speaking Yiddish.
I mean, I didn't go back and watch it, but I thought that was a pretty edgy joke for them.
That was probably the only thing I didn't like was so Harold Ramis. I can't remember if he was Lahaim or Mazel Tov. Like it was like
that was a dumb joke.
Yeah, but like all the Jewish people in this had kind of like in Hot Shots where it's this.
Yeah, it felt like a very.
That was a little
exactly.
weird.
It felt like a very dated joke. And I mean, they're all being played by Jewish guys, and like Harold Ramis is not going to fucking do it if he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wasn't hard up for a paycheck to do that acting role.
No. He didn't need to do it.
It's not our place to say that shouldn't have happened.
It's just weird in 2020 going back and seeing that.
It felt, I mean, even at that time, it feels a little like lazy and
on the nose,
silly. But yeah, but doesn't ruin the movie for me. Came and went. I didn't care.
In that same kind of scene, I going back to this movie, really the only thing I remembered was the machete fight. And then I remember when he gets in rehab and Jenna Fisher's character comes back, who's the June Carter, analog, comes and she takes off his shirt and he's got like just a ridiculous 6-pack, even though we've seen him throughout the movie without clothing.
That's the same joke that they did in Step Brothers.
6-pack. Yeah. But
Adam Scott had a 6-pack.
When he's in prison, and it's kind of like them getting ready to do the Folsom Prison show, but he's like, being here has like made me, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like made me realize the plight of the everyday man. I understand them more, and I appreciate them, and I love them. And I need to get out of here so I can make music that'll bring them joy, because I don't want to live with them. And it just made me laugh so hard, because it's like,
that's like an interesting thing about Walk the Line too. Just going back to that for a second, it's that movie ended when there was still 20 more years of Johnny Cash's career. So you know what I mean? So it left out a ton of stuff, including
at that point
all this
didn't have controversy.
After the
pretty much
for the
after
next 20
that,
years.
like once he got married to June Carter,
but
just became
that's
like
what I'm saying. It's like,
husband.
I mean, maybe not with her, but like and I can't speak to anything specifically, but I know that he released a bunch of albums supporting Native Americans, and they were like frowned upon by the label because they were thought to be very controversial. And it made me think of that because you're talking about the plight of the everyman or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, biopic can't cover
everything,
the entire life, and like give the proper attention to it. So I get it, but it's also like it feels strange when you get to the end of the movie and it's like, well, he's married, everything's fine now. That's where the story ends.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, of course he had other things going on, but like the controversy of him going to jail and doing drugs and destroying shit and collapsing on stage kind of went away as soon as like he got married again. Like he just became like, I don't want to say obsessed. Like that's not the right phrase, but he just worshipped the ground that June Carter walked on. So.
I think he did continue using drugs though. He didn't get sober until the 80s. I think.
Yeah, he had his issues, but it wasn't like he wasn't passing out on stage like he did before.
Now, in contrast to that, Walk Hard covers Dewey's entire life, literally up to the moment that he dies.
Up to 3 minutes before he died.
Well, we see him get the heart attack too.
Yeah.
So.
And then just 3 minutes after this performance, he died, and that's like the end of the movie.
Yeah, and like we were talking about in Walk the Line, that the movie sort of has the bookending storytelling narrative, but then it also has another 20 minutes afterwards, which is not usually how a bookending tool works. But Walk the Line does a really good job of coming right back up to the musical performance that started the movie and then saying, that's it. That's literally it. He is dead.
Yeah. God, one of the other things I really liked was like they just throw in random things like, oh, he's talking to Charles Manson. His music's terrible, but he couldn't be a nicer guy. And then he goes to like India with the Beatles, and you had Jack Black.
Well, it's sort of Forrest Gump, by the way.
It is.
The second half of the movie,
yeah,
it becomes Forrest Gump.
Jack Black was Paul McCartney. Paul Rudd
Paul Rudd
is
John
Lennon. George Harrison was Justin Long, and
Jason Schwartzman
was Ringo. Yeah, and it's
incredible.
They all had the exact same accent, which I thought was so funny. Like they all did the Liverpool accent, even though like the Beatles weren't all from the same place. They didn't have the same accent, but they all just were like, "There's no limit to what you can imagine."
We're the Beatles.
No,
do it. We really like your music. Oh, became Scottish.
It did come a little Scottish.
Listen, I'm not a voiceover actor.
George Harrison. You're the quiet one, so shut the fuck up, you cunt. Ringo, I've got an idea for a song about an octopus. You're lucky we even let you play the drums. Sounds like there's a rift
that whole section is so much fun.
No, that whole middle, not even middle chunk, like the part between when he gives up music to raise his children and like when Walk the Line essentially ends, it's just like a bunch of random shit, but it's so funny as he goes through and does all the different periods of his musical career. Even the TV show host thing I thought was pretty funny. Like he genuinely liked doing the TV show thing, and then Jane Lynch was like, "This is a shitty job," and he's like, "Oh, I guess it is kind of shit." And it just like ruins his life.
So you mentioned a few shirtless scenes that John C. Reilly had. He's like weirdly ripped.
Yeah, like he's got pecs,
he's got kind of
arms and like good, like strong legs.
I can see a six pack under there.
Yeah, he's just got like a beer belly.
I know no, he doesn't have a beer belly. It looks like he has a beer belly when he's wearing clothing, but when he has his shirt off, there's like a hint of muscles. You know it's there. He
looks like he's a strong dude with just like who enjoys his food and his beer occasionally.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, like I noticed it when like one of the scenes where he's like walking around in his it's the scene where he's gonna sleep with Jenna Fisher's character for the first time, and he does this little thing where he like trots his leg like a horse, and he's like and then his wife walks in like,
and the way he like lifts her legs up too. Don't get me wrong, that's like a good move, but it's a very aggressive way to open up your first sexual encounter with a woman.
Yeah, it was funny, but it's like I noticed him like you see him just in his tiny
new wife.
Like he's got like he looks strong. Like his back looked like he had he was strong. Like he lifts shit. His legs are strong, and like his ass was pretty big. I was like, dude, this guy looks like he's
dude.
Like if he worked out a little bit, like he would be pretty cut.
Yeah, I think it's just I don't think I'm saying anything out of line here. He's got a weird looking face, and I love it. But I think it makes it look like he's got a schlubby body, and he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. I agree with you. I think you're absolutely right with your assessment of John C. Reilly's body.
That's right. I want to go back and rewatch Boogie Nights now too.
Which one?
Boogie Nights.
Oh yeah, that's been on my list to rewatch for a while, but I just don't like Mark Wahlberg anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Talking about excusing shitty behavior,
right? Fucking
also
killed a guy.
Kind of found his
blind.
way back to Jesus, very similar to Johnny Cash.
Yeah, but then he went to like Boston a couple years ago and was like, "Hey, can we expunge my record? Like, can I get a pardon for this?" Like, he wants it like gone. And it's like, dude, like you served your time. Like, just move past it.
Yeah, and
like,
also like
by you trying to get it
your
off your records, like you saying like trying to absolve yourself, like this never happened. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, and like you're successful. Like, what's it preventing you from doing?
Nothing.
Is HBO not going to give you another TV show because you have a record in Boston?
Right.
People are only going to talk about it more if you go there.
Yeah. Sony's not going to let you be in the Uncharted movie.
Right. Can we talk about the cameos in this movie?
Yeah, God, there's so many. But go for
Well,
it.
first of all, let me say this. His band is made up of incredible comedians who are so good in this movie. Tim Meadows is one of my favorite
so funny in this
secret
movie.
weapons. He's so good in everything he does, man. He's like maybe a little underappreciated.
And he never
I love
paid
Tim
for
Meadows.
drugs even once.
Not once. And Chris Parnell is a bass player. Chris Parnell is fucking amazing.
Leo Spacemi.
Like everybody knows who he is, and I think very few people recognize him or recognize the
got a
name.
great
but
voice.
everyone's seen him and stuff. Yeah, and he's good in person too. Like he's a good live action actor.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember the guitar player's name, but I've seen him in other stuff, and he's fantastic in this as well.
No, he's good. Like all the background. You don't think we like cheating on our wives too, and you never throw us.
Hey, I don't like this girl. Let's switch
That's my
girls.
wife.
Dewey, this is my wife.
Oh.
So Chris Robinson's in there
Yep.
as the leader of the band that sings at the erotic dancing club. Oh, dude, when Dewey finally gets his big break to lead that band, and he goes into like the thick, like Southern black dude accent, as a fucking rolling, it's so funny.
Like they did it. Like this is something that if you do it incorrectly, could come off very bad. But like they acknowledge it. Like all the people in the crowd, all the people backstage are looking, and I'm like, what
The joke is that he's being inappropriate.
fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And then he starts singing. They're like, oh, okay. Then you can sing. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, that was good. Like I think they did a good job with that.
Yeah. I'm literally
Famous
scrobbling
Martin
through the movie
Starr.
trying to find who else.
Jack
Martin
White
Starr.
as Elvis.
So Jack White is my favorite one.
There's only two people, only the Chinese and the king who know karate, and one of them's here. Look out!
Come on, man, look at that when talking. Oh, look out!
I watch this. So anytime I watch a movie for the podcast, I watch with subtitles. So if I want to like write down a line, I get a better idea of what it is.
It's
and
just
this is
gibberish.
what I heard. And then like, it literally says mumbling for his lines on a lot of them.
In that same scene, Ed Helms is the
Stage manager.
MC, or not the MC, the stage manager.
Buddy Holly,
Frankie Muniz. Yep.
That was great. You had Jack McBrayer was a DJ. You had a lot of the 30 Rock
Right.
crowd in this. A lot of people from The Office were in this. You had David Krumholtz, of course, played another one of the Jewish agents. There's so many.
That makes
people.
sense. I think Jenna Fisher is probably instrumental in bringing some of her friends in there, or at least her agent.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and then you had, at this point, Judd Apatow had a couple of hits, but he still had ties to television. So he brought in a lot of his people. And then at the end, you had a lot of musicians. You had Jewel was there. You had Ghostface Killer. You already brought up
Dude,
Eddie.
I did
Eddie
not
Vedder.
realize that Ghostface was in the movie until this watching.
You had the actual
This viewing.
Temptations.
Yeah. Oh, the Temptations.
No, there's a lot in this. Like I forgot.
Jonah
how
Hill
many
is
people-
his brother.
Jonah Hill is the older version of his dead brother, Jack Black. Oh, we already brought up all the
Beatles.
The Beatles.
And we said Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch. Like, you just scroll through, it's like all people that blew up like within a few years after this movie.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why this movie was such a cult hit. It's because they grabbed all this talent before they were huge. Even Jonah Hill. Like, Jonah Hill's maybe on the cusp of being a household name at this point, but not as big as he was by the time he did Wolf of Wall Street. You know?
Right. At this point,
so they got him like on the upswing.
The
for
people
sure.
watching this movie who are excited about this movie would have known who he was, but like like my parents who just rented this movie when it came out probably wouldn't have known who he was, but like people like us obviously did. God, this movie was really fun. Like, I could just quote it nonstop now.
And it's such a good parody of biopics and Walk the Line and music in that in the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
It's just, I lost my train of thought. It's fantastic is what I'm
fun.
saying. We said that this came out in 2007 and then Popstar came out in 2017, and I think there was not a better funny music movie in between those two movies. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Popstar is another one that came out to was a bomb essentially.
Yeah.
And critics sort of panned it, and then like the next year, people were like, "Why is no one talking about Popstar? It's one of the funniest movies of the decade."
With I think people just don't recognize how funny Andy Samberg actually is.
Yeah, I mean, not at that time for sure. I think now.
I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine did him a
TV show
lot of
for
favors.
7 years. Yeah, I think people know who he is.
Because like
I'm going to be interested to see if he's trying to return to movies after Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or if he wants to keep on doing TV.
We'll see. I mean, I think he'll always do a mix of both. I think he likes getting deep into a character and figuring out a character. But I would like to see him do some more comedies. Like he did that. I haven't watched. It's been on my list, and it's something I've been actually saving for another topic episode. I want to do the like the Groundhog's Day time loop kind of movies. But he just did that movie with
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs, yeah. I was trying to say that.
We could do that and Edge of Tomorrow.
I just watched Edge of Tomorrow, and I would totally watch it again. I watched that a few weeks
that
back.
movie's so
Such
good.
A fun movie.
I haven't watched it in a couple of years, so
I've watched it like within the last month, but like I'll watch anything with, like we've talked about Tom Cruise with Top Gun and forgiving his shitty behavior, but I'll watch anything with him and Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt is so
I think
good.
you talk about other people's shitty behavior so often that you need to come up with a list of degrees of shitty behavior. Mm-hmm.
So we gotta go
the
like
Acevedo scale of
so
shitty behavior.
We got to figure out
color
what
code
them. You have to have.
Well, on one side you've got Harvey Weinstein and Louis C.K., and on the other side you've got somebody sneezing and somebody else doesn't say bless you.
Oh man, like in Dogma. You didn't say bless.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean you'd have to have Jared Leto on there too.
Okay, just for fun, so I made a joke about sneezing, but who would be on that end of the scale? Like, what is an actor that has done something not cool, but that's not a big deal?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Well, we're gonna have to come up with an MDXpods shitty actor scale. And so, like, what you're saying is like true neutral. It's like they've done shit, but like it doesn't register.
Yeah, or like somebody, I'm trying to think of like who's made public apologies and had it not be a big deal or something, or like it's blown over. Like, just to get the ball rolling, Dan Harmon was, I was going to say Me Too'd, but maybe that's belittling it a little bit. But he was called out for some awful behavior, and he made what I think is generally regarded as a good apology. And now people don't really talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
But there's got to be an example of that, of somebody who wasn't like Me Too'd necessarily, like something lower on the.
I guess you could almost say like Winona Ryder. She had her thing, but she's
okay.
Back
That's
in
a good
movies. One. You know, she's never going to be like the leading person, but she works consistently.
I bet there's something even below that. So stealing from a corporation, from a huge store, is on the lower end of the scale. That's a good place to start. Let's think about it and we'll come back to it next week.
But I
We'll
think
make it graphic.
we've talked this movie or quoted this movie to death. I think we should wrap up. Where can our listeners find you? Unless you got anything else.
I got one more.
Oh, go for it, bud.
At the very end of the movie, they're doing one of my favorite devices, which is where a main character is remembering things and we think we know their story. Like they're flashing back to stuff that we know, but they flash back to adventures that we didn't see them go on. They did that in Guardians of the Galaxy when Star-Lord is just flying around with Rocket.
Yeah.
And in this movie, Dewey's thinking back on all of his adventures with the band and his pals. And there's one where him and Chris Parnell, the bass player, are in like a 70s like cop show or something.
Chris Parnell gets shot at. He
uses him as a human shield.
That's where you see him break like the row sinks.
He got shot to death. He's fine. And he was so happy to be back in the band.
Yeah.
If someone let me get shot to death, I'd probably not want to speak to them for the rest of my life.
We got to bring this up. I don't know how we didn't bring it up. We brought up he never paid for drugs once, but his decline or his descent into drugs starts with him early on seeing Sam smoking reefer, and he's like, "What are you doing in here? Smoking reefer? Can't you smell?" And it turns out he can't smell until he fulfills his life goal and becomes great. He goes, "You don't want any of this." He goes, "No, I wouldn't."
You don't want none of this shit, do we?
No, I wouldn't want to get a hangover. It doesn't give you a hangover. Well, I definitely don't want to get like addicted. It's not habit forming. Oh well, is it gonna make me want to have sex? It makes sex better.
It makes sex even better.
Wow, that sounds really expensive. It's literally the cheapest drug you can get. Wow, I kind of want to get it. Fine, but just this once. And then it's cocaine. It's like the same thing. Like, it'll make angry thoughts happy thoughts.
You talk about like, I think Anchorman was the most quoted movie until Borat came out.
Yeah.
For a long period of time than Borat was. And Austin Powers before that. I feel like that specific thing is one of the most quoted things of the last like decade.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that bit. You don't want none of this shit, Dewey.
I think when he does, my favorite one's when he gets to pills, like, "What are you doing? We're doing pills, uppers and downers. It's the next logical step for you."
Yeah, it's
good.
so good, man.
It's good. All right. Give us your plugs, bud. Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at dyslexic, DYSAlexIC, and I've got some fine wares and whatnot on there and lots of pictures of my cats. I'm on Twitter at Pulisci, just my last name, Pulisci. And if you want to follow along with what I've been watching, I'm on Letterboxd at Pulisci as well.
Nice. And you guys can check out everything that's MDXpods related at MDXpods.com. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at MDXpods. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/MDXpods and get these episodes early and very soon. We've got essentially 2 more movies in the Fast Furious franchise. We're going to do Hobbs and Shaw and then Better Luck Tomorrow, which is not technically a film in the series, but it has Han, so we're going to do it. But then these bonus episodes will continue as Patreon exclusives, so check it out. But thanks for listening.
The wrong son died.
Wrong son died.